Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, you good old boys in Canada, you know we love you in Africa, the Big C tribe, but there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home of the brave on a beautiful January 11th, 2018. Big C, how's it going for you good old boys down south?
Well, Charlton, I'm trying to finish up my spread for this weekend for college football, not college football, but pro football.
Yep.
Where we got the playoffs going on.
Playoffs.
And three of the teams got to wonder what happened.
Yes.
You know, three of these teams, Charlton, in the playoffs this week that have to go on the road.
Yep.
Play their home games in perfect weather.
Yeah.
You think about Indianapolis playing the Dome.
Yep.
Dallas plays in the Dome.
Yeah.
The Chargers play in Los Angeles. And they all are going to have to go play in cold, wet, freezing weather, Charlton.
Yeah, we know what happens. All's fair in love and war, especially when you play in New England when it's cold, Big C. I do want to say today's segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac leaders, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. When you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you, as well as all their fleet of Cadillac cars. Unlike the Escalade, Big C, I think you have dual climate control. One person can have it freezing cold, the other person can be sweating hot, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, normally that person's sitting up on the roof, Charles, when they want an alternate temperature other than what I have.
Yeah.
You know, climate control means the driver, okay?
Yep.
Nobody else matters.
Big C, I've ridden with you before. I kind of know what you mean by first-hand experience. It's all fair in love and war. We love so much about sports. We love so much about life. Sports is life. People say, well, sports and politics don't mix. Yeah, if you're dumb, nothing mixes when you're a dumb person. But for people who are smart, everything mixes, Big C. It's all part of life. It's a lot like everything else we talk about in the sports universe. You think about something. In life, you have people that you can count on, like the movie Forrest Gump. What did Forrest tell us? Life is like a box of chocolates. That's what he told us. And you never know what you're going to get until you eat all of the chocolates. Big C, I know you've eaten all the boxes of chocolates, and none of them taste the same. But the teammates this weekend, you're going to find out who your real teammates are. You're going to find out guys that quit. You're going to find guys that don't quit. You're going to find out guys that believe even when you're down. You're going to find out people who are the front runners. But you're also going to find out something else, Big C. You're going to find out it's not whether you're home or on the road, it's how you play the game, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you know, so many people take it for granted when they enter the league is that you'll get to this point in your career where you'll always be challenging for a championship.
Yeah.
You can look around the league, Charlton, as some of the greatest players that have ever played.
Yeah.
And even some of those that are playing today. And you know, when are they going to get an opportunity to win a Super Bowl?
Yeah.
You know, we talked about the top highest paid 6 quarterbacks in the league didn't make the playoffs.
That's right.
Even one of them was your cousin. He didn't get
You're
there in Minnesota. and so, you know, it's about being able to perform on the biggest stage, Charlton, when called upon.
Yeah.
You know, last week, you know, with those players in the first round, Charlton, thought they'd be playing here in the second round.
Yeah.
And they were eliminated.
Yep, they were eliminated, Big C. And it's a lot like everything else in life, too. You know, I watched Forrest Gump. Does Bubba Grab's shrimp really exist? Do they have shrimp that big down south where it's like the size of your hand, or was it just kind of imagination for TV? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, no, Charlton, when you get down there in the Gulf, Charlton, and you bring in some of those giant prawns,
yeah,
those are just succulent, Charlton, and when they're fresh out of that Gulf water,
yeah.
Oh, man,
you gotta
pass me some tartar sauce.
You got to bring some of us West Coast boys down south to understand what you mean. So, but again, just like every person around the world, in fact, every person in the universe, you understand when you go into the playoffs, it's win or go home. If you don't, there's no more tomorrows. For some people, some teams, half the teams, their season will end this weekend. The rest, it will go forward, Big C. It's almost like when you go through and you go and have dinner with somebody, there's some people you want to eat with them again. Others you don't want to eat with them at all, especially when they don't pick up the tab. Like your friend that said who ordered the gratuity. He ate most of the food but didn't want to pay the gratuity. He thought the gratuity was something you ate, Big C. It's just something he didn't want to pay. But think about it, like Forrest Gump told us, life is like a box of chocolates. You go through your teammates. Some people you start the season with, they're not going to end the season with you. They get hurt, they get traded. And then we have this carousel, this coaching carousel. Big C, I want to applaud you also because you brought up the subject. You know, we don't script our shows. I just say, Big C, you speak from the heart. You started talking about the lack of African-American coaches and how can the NFL address that. The Rooney Rule is garbage. They may as well get rid of it, Big C, because they won't address the heart of racism. In the Rooney Rule, hire somebody, give them an opportunity. They don't make sure you hire people. They just say interview them so we can say we're not a racist business. Okay? Like that box, life is a box of chocolates. If we turn what's happening this weekend, the NFL it's really for the whole world to see. But what they're going to see is not just the athletes on the field. You're going to see a good old boy network. They just tell you they want to hire the white guy. There've been no black hires as a head coach, but nearly all of them have been fired, and that's this year alone. And I'm tired of them getting away with it. Just so you don't want black men telling you what to do. I respect that more, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, that's what Bidwell said, you know, down in Arizona.
Yeah.
He said he wanted to hire a coach in Cliff Kingsbury, but somebody he was comfortable with sitting down with.
He was honest.
Somebody who looked like him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're saying it. I mean, they use the dog whistle talking in the statements that they make.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's no longer even have to put up with that farce, Charlton,
yeah,
that you got to interview minority coaches. Charlton, even CBS Sports was talking about it this morning. I heard one of the broadcasters talking about that, talking about the Rooney Rule, and I'm like, damn, I just said that on the show yesterday.
Yeah, they copycat.
You know, identical to what I was saying.
Yeah.
But, you know, you think about it, Charlton, it's just lip service.
Yeah.
You know, everybody in the media can talk about it. The owners say, I own the team.
Yeah.
It's just like when Jared went out and bought the 357-foot yacht.
Yeah.
He said, it's mine.
Yeah.
I didn't have to get anybody's approval.
No.
Nobody asked me what my credit was like.
No.
You know, because he was a white owner.
He's a white man, and that's...
If he was a black entertainer, they'd have been wanting to know what his fiscal balance was.
Well, why you want a yacht? Why you need a yacht?
Why do you need a boat that big? You know?
Yeah.
Why? You know, that's been the question if he was black. Why do you want a boat this size?
Yeah.
You know, it's not whether you can afford it, but why?
Yeah.
But, you know, it's just how it's addressed in society.
Yeah.
And anybody who ever thinks that we're wrong about what we're saying, the numbers speak for itself.
Yeah.
You know, there's talk that New England Patriots defensive coordinator, who was African-American, may get the Miami Dolphins head coaching job, Charlton, but that would be after the season, if it occurs.
Yeah.
But when you look at all the coaches that have been hired thus far, Charlton, they've hired coaches that had no coaching experience. You think about the coach in Cleveland.
Yeah.
He did 8 games, 10 games or whatever, Charlton, as a play caller. He had never even been a coordinator. He never had a head coaching job, not even in high school or college.
Yeah.
Cliff Kingsbury,
a
losing record as a college football coach, Charlton, gets a head coaching job.
Yeah.
You know, Adam Gates, one winning season in Miami, gets a head coaching job.
Yeah.
Bruce Arians had retired, didn't want to coach anymore. They make him come coach.
They made him coach.
So, you know, so when you look around at the coaches that have been hired, Charlton, and you say, well, okay, there's no qualified black candidates. They are.
Yep.
They're there, Charlton.
Yeah.
It's just you choose not to give them an opportunity. You look at Anthony Land.
Yeah.
You know, people were calling for him to be fired, Charlton,
last year
after the first 4 or 5 games of last season in San Diego. Then he went on an 8-1 run. They're like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Then this year he ends up 12-4.
Yep.
You know, the best record of any coach over the last 25 games.
Yeah. Well,
but no one is saying, well, you know, we were wrong about him.
Yeah.
They're waiting on him to fail.
Yep.
Regardless of how successful he is in the last 25 games, they're waiting on him to fail.
Well,
and you see that even with the minority quarterbacks, Charlton.
Yeah.
There's always a scrutiny of these guys. You know, you think about what Jackson went through in Baltimore.
Yep.
The scrutinization from the draft throughout the entire season, even in the playoff game he lost.
Yeah.
And you know what was ironic, Charlton?
What's that?
Those 4 other rookie quarterbacks that were drafted in front of him, I don't think they had a playoff game.
Oh, they didn't make the playoffs, Big C? But that's just what... Let's be honest, okay? I was raised by 2 parents that were God-fearing. They said, believe in God, but tell the truth. The truth will set you free. I want to have a come-to-Jesus moment with my white brethren. Whether you're media or whether you're an owner of a team, if you're the owner, you have the right to do what you want to do. I mean, within the rules of the law. But I really wish people would say, if you want, who are you really? If you don't want someone black running your team, just put that in your bylaws so we can know who you are. Because the players who play for the Arizona Cardinals, they gave their head coach 1 year. And they want to get rid of the Glenn also for the Chargers after 1 year. And now he's in position to get to the AFC Championship game. I just want to see, and I want the whole universe to see how the officials in the NFL call this game. So that a black man going to New England in the great Northeast and take out the prodigal coach of the NFL in Belichick, people would say, well, maybe someone had a fumble or a Gronkowski's fault. They will never say that he outcoached Belichick. That's every white man's hope, is that the Chargers lose that game. They know it's true. It's not because they want to see Tom Brady. I think people are tired of seeing Tom Brady compete for a championship. Really, it's Philip Rivers' chance. But I think, Big C, I love giving praise to what it is. That good old boy that does work for the mothership, Berman, he did a throwback to the it was a tuck rule how it began. But he also went back to the sea of hands with the Raiders and also the Dolphins. But there was another game that had the Raiders, I think it was, they were playing in Baltimore, that old stadium, and Casper caught a winning touchdown.
Memorial Stadium goes to the post.
Exactly.
Kenny Stabler to Dave Casper.
You see, you know all that stuff, Big C. And the one with the Steelers and the Raiders, it was French Fuqua and Bradshaw threw the ball. The ball was hit by Jack Tatum. The Raiders swear to this day, that ball hit the ground, and the NFL never showed the replay. But Big Franco Harris, the Italian stallion, he's black and Italian, but they call him Italian. All life came from Africa. He's the black stallion, really, you want to be, correct. But tell me something. They never showed the ground where the ball ended up. They didn't show if he took it off the ground or if it hit the ground, if it did not. They felt the Raiders were cheated in that game. And it's amazing how when West Coast teams go east, I'm telling you there's going to be a moment like that when the Chargers go there, because this league that doesn't want to hire black coaches, what would they say if the Chargers take out the number one coach in the league, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you think about the success that Anthony Lynn has had. If the Chargers win this game, it's a declining Tom Brady.
Yeah.
A declining Rob Gronkowski.
Yeah.
They just didn't have the pieces through injury. They didn't have a go-to receiver.
Yeah.
You'll start building a story. You won't build a praise for Anthony Lynn, the tremendous coaching job that he's done, Charlton, this year.
Yeah.
But you'll take a defense story for the Patriots.
Yeah.
If they don't come out victorious in this game.
Yeah.
I mean, everything stacks in their favor, Charlton. It's going to be 27 degrees, potentially snowing in Foxborough.
Yeah.
A real climate adjustment for the Chargers.
Yeah.
But the Chargers have the pieces to do this, Charlton. When you look at how Rivers has performed in the cold games this year, especially that game in Kansas City, that great battle between the Chiefs and the Chargers.
Yep.
Philip Rivers was amazing in that game.
He was.
But he's going to be prone to turnovers if it's cold and wet, Charlton, because the ball is going to get a little slick.
Yeah.
A big plus for the Chargers in this game, Charlton, is Melvin Gordon.
Yeah.
Their running back. He's back and healthy. He went to the University of Wisconsin, so he's used to playing in this inclement weather. Not only did he go to school there, Charlton, he grew up in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So it's a big plus for him. And you look at some of the defensive players, Charlton, for the Chargers, they came out of that region of the country, Charlton, in the upper Midwest.
Yep. Well, this is a time where you find out who your teammates are and how they're going to perform. And sometimes the people that you don't want to perform, or you don't expect them to, they'll come through and have a big game. So it's not necessarily about Brady or about Rivers, but it's like you said, Gordon. It's about who makes that special teams play. But I'm telling you, the officiating crew, we've just talked about the sea of hands. We talked about there's some Dolphins that felt that ball, that was not a good pass. It was a legal forward pass. Whatever they thought, but it happened at the Coliseum. The tuck rule, we know that was the NFL saying, no, we can't let the Raiders beat the Patriots. We just got this, we're trying to get this new stadium. We know that was the case. We know the Raiders got robbed many times. We also know the Raiders robbed Cleveland because at that time they had the African-American coach. They didn't want to have him coaching and winning, beating John Gruden. We know that's the case, Big C. I'm not being cynical. But what I do want to get your thoughts, because you're very honest, you really don't care how people feel. I remember when that time I was riding your Escalade and I turned on the heated seat part. You said you got the seats set where you want them. If you don't like the ride, get out. I remember you said that. I thought you were joking, but you put a couple guys out. But if the league really is honest about themselves, tell the world that you're racist. Tell the ownership, and I'm talking to Roger Goodell, tell them that you'll allow racist men to run a league where they intentionally make fun of the rule that you're supposed to enforce. And if that's okay if they say, well, so what, we'll get rid of you. But for the black men that play in this league, it has made every white owner a billionaires. That's why Jerry Jones could go buy a 300-foot yacht and not even blink. They did it because of black men. But you got to tell those black men that you don't get the opportunity to coach once you're finished playing. Boy, we just want you to run. Boy, jump higher. Boy, get bigger, stronger, and faster. Boy. And when you watch mainstream TV, that's all they talk about, how big and strong somebody is, what his vertical is, and his 40 time. They never have a conversation like you, Big C. And can you own this team when you're done playing? Can you have the actually opportunity to own it? Quit saying that we don't know how to make this happen. Just say you're racist. That way people can breathe deeper, Big C. Does that make any sense?
Well, Charlton, I listen to broadcasters all the time when they call players a coach on the field.
Yeah.
African-American defensive players, especially safeties and linebackers. They say, he's like a coach on the field. He knows everything.
Yeah.
He recognizes it all. But he's a coach on the field, but he can't coach on the sideline.
Yeah.
So they're given, kudos by the broadcasters, Charlton. They're given accolades. But when it comes down to the interview process, even though they know all the X's and O's of the game, Charlton, they know all the execution.
Yeah.
They're saying that they can't process it as a coach and can't translate it, even though they make the play calls on the field, Charlton.
Yeah.
When you look in the huddle of all the playoff games that are being played this weekend, Charlton, look to see who's calling the defensive plays in these games, Charlton.
Yeah.
Who's giving the signal to the rest of the teammates? That means he has a grasp of what all 11 men are doing on the field, Charlton.
Of course. Yeah.
And so, but they're saying that can't translate into a game plan. These players, Charlton, are part of developing the game plan.
Yeah.
It's going to be executed on game day.
Yeah.
And so I don't see the difficulty, Charlton, in bringing them in for interviews and say, hey, this is our guy.
Right.
Other than that he doesn't look like you and you don't feel confident in giving someone that much power.
Yeah.
All you have to do is go back to the movie Malcolm X.
Yeah.
When they were outside the hospital after one of the gentlemen had been beaten up by the officers.
Yeah.
And, when Malcolm X in the movie portrayed by Denzel Washington at the time, just gave a signal for everybody to leave.
Yeah.
And Boyle, who was a police chief at that time, said that no black man should have that much power.
I remember that.
And that's what resonates in the NFL.
Yeah.
When you look at the coaching positions, they're saying no black man should have that much power, Charlton, to be in control of that many millions of dollars.
Yeah, and I love that because Spike Lee's a great director, okay? We know he'll get blackballed in Hollywood, but I'm just being real. There should be a Malcolm X Part 2. I mean, life after what they were fighting for, because our great civil rights leaders, and I'm asking white men, not the bigots, but the ones who are fair, because there's a lot of decent people, they just want to do the right thing, but sometimes they are reticent to say anything to the ones that are bigots, like what we have in the White House. But I'm just being real. We're going to celebrate the Me Too movement. Let's look at all the people who were demonized because black men run the NFL, period. They just do. When people say they're going to demonize Malcolm X because he stood up against white power, was Malcolm wrong? No. The NFL has shown he wasn't wrong. If you are a person of color, and if you're a white man, people please understand all over the world, in fact, all over the universe, black men have learned to interact with every race of people on the planet. We know all life came from the African continent. Black women have learned to interact with every race of people on the planet. We know that Africa was the birthplace of civilization, and Dr. Leakey opined that it came from the womb of a black woman as the diaspora spread throughout the world. But what does it come to the workforce? Well, can we find some honest white men, not the crooked ones, but some honest guys? And I know the gentleman bit well down in Arizona. People think, oh, what a bigot, but at least you know where he stands. If you know where he stands, don't play for him. That's honest, Big C. When the good old boy down for the owned the San Diego Clippers was dating a black woman, but he did not want black people coming to his game unless he was in his bed. Okay, that's the truth. If you know, in the NBA, got rid of that garbage. If we do a background check on players, can we do a background check on owners? If you're a bigot, you can't own the league. And start making these interview processes public. That has to make sense, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, it would make sense from a public perspective. But you got to understand this is a country club of elitists. They own all their own property, Charlton. Everything that's within that realm is their property. even the commissioner is their property. So the commissioner is shackled by his limitations of what he can do against the people who employ him, Charlton.
Yeah.
But when you think about fines that he put on owners, Charlton, those are limited fines. I think about the fine that he gave Jerry Jones last year, $2 million.
Yeah.
Wow. Jerry just spent $250 million on a yacht.
Yeah.
Okay? So if he spent $250 million on a yacht, Charlton, and one little figure that people don't realize what it costs. When you have a mega yacht, Charlton, they say it costs $10,000 a foot to operate.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
He has 357 feet.
Wow.
Okay? So he pays over $3.5 million a year to operate his yacht.
Yeah.
So him paying a $2 million fine to the commissioner was nothing. And his boat's going to be sitting, Charlton, majority of the time that he's not leasing it out.
Yeah. Well,
so when you talk about the commissioner hitting him with a fine, think about when the commissioner suspends a player for 4 games, Charlton.
Yeah.
Think about that in retrospect of how much it costs that player in percentage versus what it costs that owner for a $2 million fine.
Yeah.
If a player gets suspended 4 games, Charlton, that's 25% of his income.
Yeah.
Of his income.
Yeah.
He's never going to fine an owner 2% of his income that he makes off the league.
That's a very good point, Big C. And I know it's all fair and love and war, but we put so much passion behind the Me Too movement because it has a white face on it. Harriet Tubman started the Me Too movement, the Underground Railroad, helping people get to freedom. But I know all's fair in love and war. It was the Jewish Americans that helped start the NAACP in 1909. It wasn't started by black Americans. People don't even know that. It just takes good people. We all pray to God. We all want to do what's right. We all want liberty and justice for everybody. That just seems fair. I hope we can get there by talking about it. And just on your entrance exam, a lot of people got to take an entrance exam. They got to ask you about your profile, your background, and how you have an affinity toward one group or another. We know that Donald Trump has that dog whistle, and he's a white guy that's proud to be a bigot, but he's not honest enough to own it. Okay, he just has his dog whistles as if people aren't smart enough to see that. I would just hope that for the white guys in a position of power, you know who you are. You can open the door to competition. No one's saying hire anybody unless they have the ability, but you don't even get to that table. And we're just asking you, if you're really a bigot, at least be proud of it. And you may not appreciate what Bidwell is down in Arizona, but you know where he stands. And why would you play for the man if you know he's a bigot? Sometimes money can buy things. I just hope that Big C Sports, if you steal everything else mainstream, start stealing that. Let's have a panel asking white men, what's the benefit to being racist and bigoted? And then come on TV and say, hey, we believe in equality for everybody, whether it's anti-women or anti-people of color. I hope that we can have people at least be proud of being a bigot. And I know that may not happen. Big C, I do want to get into your thoughts on what's happening with the world of the NFL, because it's a great business. It's a great league. But before I even get into that, I got to ask you this question. Because Iowa Congressman Stephen King advocated that he's a white nationalist or a white supremacist. And he wonders why he has to apologize. Well, he could be an NFL owner and no one would say anything to him. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I respect the man for saying what he is.
Me too.
But the thing about it, the people who vote for him feel the same way that he is.
Yep.
So it really shows the separation in society.
Yeah.
Is that this is what a congressman believes. He's representing the state of Iowa. I know that the black population in Iowa is minimal, Charlton, as far as the national landscape.
Yeah.
But this is a man who goes to Congress, Charlton, with the power to affect the lives.
Yep.
We see what the government is going through right now. Is that this shutdown is affecting millions of people, Charlton.
800,000.
And I know a few companies have stepped up today and said, that they will waive time on these people, Charlton, as far as paying their bills and interest and things like that, which is a great and admirable American thing to do, Charlton.
Yeah, for 2 days.
To help out your fellow citizens.
Yeah.
And so you think about it. We have companies that think more about American citizens than what our president does, Charlton.
Yeah.
And so all the congressmen, think about this. All of the IRS employees, Charlton, that are not going to get paid. The IRS offices are closed up.
Yeah.
So that means every day that the government has been closed, and I think this is day 20, that means that your income tax return is going to be 20 days late.
Yep.
Now, you think about the IRS is only operated, the processing centers are in 5 states.
Yeah.
One state, Charlton, is Kentucky.
Yeah.
Where Mitch McConnell, the Senate leader, is from.
Yeah.
So he represents a district, Charlton, that has, I believe, 5,000 IRS employees.
Yeah.
That he doesn't even care about.
Nope.
And so when was the last time that a border wall was put up around Kentucky? You think about Colorado is another one of the processing centers, Charlton.
Yep.
California
Yep.
is one of the processing centers. They have one in Michigan.
Yeah.
It's 5 states in total. And all of these states, Charlton, are run by Republicans. Matter of fact, Texas is one also.
Yeah.
They're all run by Republican congressmen. They could have voted to open up the IRS, Charlton,
Yeah.
and they refused. But they represent these people, and you voted for them.
Yeah.
So when you say that these people are concerned about American security, Charlton,
Yeah.
our TSA is not being employed.
Yeah.
These are the people who protect this country's security of people entering into it every day, as well as air traffic controllers, Charlton, who protect the skies.
Wow.
With over 2 million people flying a day in America.
Right.
But the government say they understand whether they eat or not.
Yeah, I mean that's a you know what it is, Big C. It's just a shame, but I love just being honest, and I just hope that the people who are struggling right now, I hope that they could all find a way to just be, you know, I don't know what you tell people. If you don't have the money, what do you say? They're gonna feel what it's like to be African American for the most part. I mean, black men have done through that through years, through the antebellum days, through integration, and especially through slavery. They worked for no money. So even most Americans who work for the federal government, they can see what it was like to be black. I'm not being flippant. There were times people got no money for nothing, and they still had to put a roof over their kid's head. Oftentimes they did the best they could. And I just want people to know, this is where you understand how powerful black Americans have been in this country. We made it anyway, Big C. Our great-grandparents, a lot were sharecroppers. They weren't waiting for some government shutdown. They found a way to feed their families anyway. That's why a lot of them believe so much in God, because the government turned its back on them. And I'm not saying that to be flippant, but there's a lot of people who are being hurt right now. But one thing about being African American, I can tell you this for sure. There are times mainstream don't even know how challenging it has been for people. There's a lot of people who have made it also, Big C, but this government shutdown, there have been a lot of black Americans who lived their life being told no. No, you can't get the loan. No, you can't get the job. It wasn't about a government shutdown. It was just being told no. You don't think that's changed? How many African Americans are getting head coach positions in the NFL where they represent, as black men, about 70% of the league? You think the government shutting down or running is going to change the fact that they can or cannot get a job? Big C, the black men who are trying to get coaching jobs in the NFL, are they telling people who are dealing with this government shutdown how you got to make it anyway? Do you see the point? They're not getting work anyway, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I hadn't thought about it until you just said it. That mainstream now is finding out what slavery was about. Mm-hmm. Is that you had to go to work, you had to do your job, you had no choice.
Yep.
And not get paid.
Yep.
This is what black oppression has been for hundreds of years in America, Charlton.
Yeah.
Is that you had to do this work. This is the only way that you could survive, stay alive, and not get paid.
Yeah.
Black Americans know that throughout the entire time of slavery, Charlton.
Yeah.
Is that you had to get up and you had no option but to go do the work.
Yep.
Of the person who owns you, who owns your life.
Yeah.
And that's what it is of a government employee.
Yep.
A TSA member.
Yeah.
An air traffic controller. Is that you think about the fires that were in California, Charlton.
Oh, yeah.
There were air traffic controllers that lived in those areas.
Yep.
And they lost everything, Charlton. And now they don't have a paycheck.
Yeah.
So when you think about the devastation of that, but I had not equated it to what until you just rattled my mind, Charlton.
Yeah.
That now we have these government workers who understand what slavery was.
Yeah. I know. And I think, I mean, God is mysterious, Big C, because you can, I mean, if I look at my white brethren who run the league, they own teams, why would you?
But think about this, Charlton.
Yeah.
Look at all the empathy that everybody has right now for those government workers that are not getting paid.
Yeah. Yep. They sure do, Big C. That is so true. They have so much empathy for people who are trying to deal with it, and they don't know how.
They're suffering, not getting anything for it.
Yeah, I agree.
And everybody's heartstrings are torn out.
Yep.
Look at the black families throughout American history, Charlton, who had that happen to them every day.
Yeah.
For years, for decades, for centuries. And no one wants to equate with that.
I agree.
They're saying these people are being treated unfairly. This is what the crux of racism was.
Yeah.
Now look at it from the other spectrum, Charlton.
Yep.
This is what American society really should do.
Yeah.
Is look at this and how all these federal employees are being treated.
Like they're black.
And think about the oppression that black people have lived for hundreds of years in America.
Yep, and we made it anyway. So that's why my plea to my white brethren, especially those of you who are running NFL teams and you can't wait for the kickoff to start this weekend, and you want somebody who's full of character and history and has this rise of the phoenix to come back and rise no matter what you're going through. If you look at what men have been made to go through, like the federal government shutdown right now, black men are being shut out of the NFL. There's no shutdown of hiring in the NFL. But the white men who own these leagues are doing the same thing Trump is doing to 800,000 people. They don't care. But maybe, I'm not even being flippant. If the black men got some type of power together and just go on a strike for a reason, go on a strike for fairness and equality. Rosa Parks did it. Dr. King did it. You got white men telling you, you're not going to get a job, boy. Just shut up and play, boy. Get big, strong, and fast, boy. I don't need to hire you, boy. You're going to get 1 year, boy. You better shut up, boy. Don't say anything, boy, or you won't have a job, boy. And men show up anyway because they're going to make millions of dollars. So it's a personal choice. But again, one more thing on the Rooney Rule, then we're going to go through some games, Big C. The Rooney Rule is a joke. Just call it a joke. Get rid of it. The commissioner can't do anything. Okay? His hands are tied also. It's just a call to my white brethren, the ones who run the league. Why do you want people who haven't been battle tested? Black men have been battle tested in everything. Let them compete with the guys you're giving jobs to and see how they compete. That's all it is. The same way you've done on the athletic playing fields. Well, who doesn't want the best competition to have the choice of who you're going to hire? Everything's based on competition. These games this weekend are based on competition, Big C. You better make sure coaches and players are the same. Let them compete, and the ones who win will make you a better product. I want to say sports is a billion-dollar industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry for every athletic and sporting event. You need athletic and event insurance. We work with Ben and Mark. They've been around half a century. They work with Big C Sports, whether you're a pro team, an NFL team, or a high school mom and pop soccer league team. When you reach out to them, let them know that Big C sent you. So again, CBS Radio, everybody's copying what you've been doing the last week. In fact, Big C Sports been doing this the whole year. Everybody's grandstanding now, acting like it's something new. It's not new. Sit down with honest white men and the crooked ones, and just say what you are. Just be, if you're a bigot, be proud of it, because there's a room for you. Look at how Trump got elected. America will accept you no matter what. Big C, give me your thoughts going into this weekend. There are already 108 underclassmen that have declared for the NFL draft, and only 252 draft picks. There are men looking for jobs in this league, most of them African American. They cannot look higher than the playing field because they know there's still a ceiling that they can't cross. It's called the white color line. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I just wonder who's giving all these young players this information that they're going to be first and second round draft picks coming out, Charlton. These are underclassmen.
Yeah.
These are men that half of them, Charlton, if not more, will not get drafted.
Yep.
And when they don't get drafted, Charlton, they can't go back to school because they've relinquished their scholarship.
Yeah.
And hopefully, they'll get a free agent tryout. But, Charlton, it lengthens the odds of them being able to make an NFL team.
Yeah.
Because we're only talking about the underclassmen, not the players who finished all their eligibility, Charlton.
Yeah.
And there's hundreds of players who finished their eligibility in college, Charlton.
Yeah.
So I think this is something that the NFL really needs to address.
Really?
Is that underclassmen coming out. I understand you can't tell someone, Charlton, after their third year in college, Charlton, that they can't go out and earn a living professionally.
Right.
But I think the realization of what potentially is not there needs to be presented to these players.
Yeah.
I don't know who's advising them, but they need to limit the access that these players have to ages, Charlton, at any time.
Yeah.
They need to be able to declare for the draft, Charlton.
Yep.
Without an agent.
Yep.
I think the NFL needs to set up that rule just like the NBA does. You can declare for the draft. If you don't get drafted, Charlton,
yep.
you can go back to school, but you can't have dealings with an agent.
Yep.
And at least let that young man have an opportunity to continue on with his education and college career. But this is going to hurt so many young men, Charlton, 108 thus far.
Wow.
Declaring for the draft. And there's only 252, 256 draft positions, Charlton.
Yeah.
That's half of the draft slots right there, Charlton, by underclassmen.
They better make sure they get the education. So now we've gotten to, you got to get your education no matter what. If you make it, great, but have something to fall back on. I want to get your thoughts on this. I mean, I love NFL football. You can love something and not be approving of it at the same time. There are many parents who chastise their kids that they love with all their heart, all their mind, all their body and soul. But you still give them correction and chastisement when they need it. I'm asking my white NFL brethren, sit down with the ones who are honestly proud to be bigots. Like Bidwell told you, he's a bigot. At least you know it. And then ask the ones who are not and have them come up with a solution to give everybody a chance to compete for a coaching job. That's important. Andy Reid is 20-4 after the bye weeks in his coaching career. But we also know he's had some trouble not losing that first round game. Now, I know the league would love to see the Indianapolis Colts come in there with Andrew Luck, a white quarterback, to take out Patrick Mahomes, which must be the NFL's MVP. But I look at the race, hell, I'm just being honest, Big C. I hear a lot of pundits saying, well, it'd be great if Andrew Luck could face Tom Brady. Okay, no, it would not. It'd be great if Patrick Mahomes, who most likely would be the MVP of the league this year, it'd be great to see him in the Super Bowl. But he has to earn it like everybody else. But Andy Reid, you look at his record, people say he's on the hot seat. There's no hot seat for Andy Reid. All he does is keep making the playoffs, yet they get knocked off like Marvin Lewis. Give me your thoughts, Big C.
Well, Charlton, it's going to be an interesting game in Kansas City this weekend. The weather is cold there, Charlton. It's snowing in Kansas City right now. And, you know, the comeback of Andrew Luck, you know, everybody would like to have that great feel-good story, you know, comeback player of the year, getting to the Super Bowl, Charlton. And, you know, he was the prodigal son when he was drafted out of Stanford 6 years ago.
Yep.
But, Charlton, Kansas City, Charlton, has not won a home playoff game in their last 6 tries.
Wow.
The last time the Chiefs won a home game, Charlton, was 25 years ago.
Wow.
Joe Montana was the quarterback, Charlton. They beat the Pittsburgh Steelers in a wild card game.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes wasn't even born at the time, Charlton.
Wow.
So when you think about where this team is now, Charlton, compared to what it did, they had an aged quarterback at that time, Charlton.
Yeah.
That they had hung their future on, who had very little left. Now they have a young quarterback, Charlton, that their future is bright with.
Yeah.
I think it's a different atmosphere. This is the challenge that you want as professional quarterback of Andrew Luck and Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes only the third quarterback in NFL history, Charlton, to have 5,000 yards passing and 50 touchdowns in a season.
Wow.
Peyton Manning and Tom Brady are the only others, Charlton. Even though all these great quarterbacks out there in the NFL that are the greatest of all time, they haven't equaled that feat, Charlton, of those 3 gentlemen.
Well, you think about...
You know, I like Patrick Mahomes at home, Charlton.
Yeah.
But if the weather's bad, Marlon Mack can be the true difference maker in this game, the running back for the Colts.
Yeah.
He had 148 yards last week against Houston in pristine conditions. We know when the weather's slick and cold, Charlton.
Yeah.
You got to have ground control. And the Chiefs have been playing running back by committee ever since the release of Kareem Hunt.
Yeah, they sure have. So let's pick up another thing that maybe, you know, Patrick Mahomes is facing, even though he doesn't play like he's facing it, Big C. Last week, 3 quarterbacks in their first playoff start all lost. Lamar Jackson, you know, they had the Chargers come in there and they had a game plan for them. The Baltimore Ravens, you think about that. They have everything going for them next year, but they were kind of on the fence. Jackson didn't even start half the season, but they had him in there for the playoff game, and he didn't have that experience to draw back on, Big C. Deshaun Watson for the Houston Texans, we know he was injured last year, and Indianapolis went in there and won. I mean, he had a great game, but they made it about Andrew Luck. When you look at Prescott for the Cowboys, Prescott has better numbers. Just Google it. You look at Mitch Trubisky. They could have played better against Philly, but Philly has some type of magic. It's like they have those. Remember that song? Take these broken wings. Well, they had broken wings in Carson Wentz, and they taped him up with this good old boy that was last year's Super Bowl MVP, and they just kept winning. So Trubisky, this is still out on him. They missed a field goal. It was tipped, but they could have played a better game. And then you look at Mahomes. He can't care about that stuff, and probably doesn't care about that. Eric Bieniemy is the engine behind the offense for the Kansas City Chiefs. Whether it's cold or not, Big C, I would like to see him get credit if they win this game, but not to blame if they lose. That goes on the defense, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I mean, the offensive ability of both of these teams, it's going to be about who does not make the mistakes in this game.
Yeah.
Because of the inclement weather, Charlton, it's always one of those things. And like I said in the opening of the show, the Colts are a warm weather team, Charlton.
Yeah.
Even though they're from Indianapolis, they play in a dome.
Yeah.
And when you're playing in a dome all the time, Charlton, having to step outside in the weather will have huge effects on you.
Yeah, it does, Big C. So, like you mentioned, you think about the last time the Colts and Chiefs met in the playoffs, 2013, the Chiefs were the road team, and they lost a miraculous comeback led by Andrew Luck. So, sometimes history repeats itself, but I just think that this is the year for Kansas City to get back at least to the AFC Championship game. And I know you talked about Joe Montana, and Mahomes wasn't born at that time, but it looks like this just feels right for them. The weather's in their favor. It's like the universe is in their favor. And we'd love to see, no matter who wins, I couldn't care less who wins. I just love seeing good football. But it would be great to see that young kid whose dad used to take him out to the stadium when he played baseball, and he learned something about being around grown men. He learned something that might come back and help them, going into this week. Big C, I want to go back when we look at the Saints and the Eagles. It was back in Week 10. The Saints went up the score on the Eagles 48-7. Now, the Eagles are still thinking about that game. But as you say many times, Big C, you got to focus on now. You can't worry about the past. Would that be something that they could use to motivate them by remembering? Or just forget about it and start anew, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I think this is one of those games where you're going to need to forget what happened in Week 10 of the season.
Yeah.
But when you look at the Eagles, they're limping into this game, Charlton. 3 of their starting defensive backs are not in this game.
Yeah.
And you're playing against Drew Brees at home in the most electrifying environment in the NFL, the Superdome down in New Orleans. And he has a great set of backs in Ingram and Cremore, Charlton.
They're amazing.
So it's not just the long passing game of the Saints.
Yeah.
It's the underneath passing game, those swing passes to the running back, Charlton.
Yeah.
This is the first time, Charlton, when you look at the matchup in this game of quarterbacks, Nick Foles and Drew Brees, the 2 former Super Bowl MVPs will be facing each other in an NFL playoff game, Charlton.
Yeah.
We're making history in this game.
Yeah.
Not only that, Charlton, both of these quarterbacks went to the same high school, Westlake in Dallas.
Yeah.
So when you think about the tie between these two men, Charlton, not only are they making history, but they've known each other for decades, Charlton, when you think about it. They come from the same area.
Yeah.
And so Foles really has something to prove in this game.
Yeah.
He was a quarterback in Week 10 when they played, Charlton.
Yeah.
But right now, Charlton, this is his team. Everybody's talked about Carson Wentz and the future of the Eagles.
Yeah.
In the NFL, you play for now.
You play for now.
It's not about future.
Yeah.
Unless you're John Gruden. You got to get where everybody's to.
Yeah.
So I'm building the future. Don't worry about what is now.
Yeah.
Look at me in 6 years.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying. But with the Eagles, this team is about now.
Yeah.
With the Saints, this team is about now.
Yeah.
And so you're going to get 2 outstanding performances. I feel, one of the things about, when you look at Foles, he's playoff tested, Charlton.
He sure is.
He's won 4 consecutive playoff games.
Yeah.
That's where the advantage goes to him, is that he doesn't know what it's like to lose in a playoff game, Charlton. And his team believes in him in every snap.
Well, sometimes, like the life's about like a box of chocolates, but when you find that good caramel chocolate, the one with the moonshine that you serve in your own restaurants, Big C, you got to go back and keep getting it because it tastes so good, Big C. I want to bring up something else, too. In L.A., Prescott and Goff, they're the guys who are going to be getting the Cowboys and Prescott, the Rams and Goff. But this really is about Ezekiel Elliott and Gurley. Ohio State versus Georgia, okay? It's a running game. Both quarterbacks can pass the football, we know that. But you got to have a running game to win in playoffs. You can't just keep throwing the ball. And Dallas has been trending up, and the Rams have been trending down. Now, will that change in L.A.? Maybe not. Maybe so. But I'll ask you this question. when you look at this, they're making their first pro starts against each other in their rookie season in 2016. Now they're going to make their first playoff appearance against each other in the third season. Now, Prescott's had a lot more success in the NFL. But would you believe that Goff has a lot more TV image? They like that image more. California kid, played at Cal Berkeley, throws a deep ball. It's in L.A. or around the movie stars. But he's a quiet kid. This is something I think about going into this game. When the coach of the Rams makes a plea to the fans in L.A., please don't sell your tickets to Cowboy fans. There are more Cowboy fans in this country than there are Rams fans. Big C, if the Coliseum has more blue and gray than blue and gold, that's a bad sign for L.A., but it's also a good sign for the Cowboys. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you think about Cowboy fans, they have their training camp in Southern California. Been there for decades.
Yeah.
So they're a fixture in Los Angeles. Even when the Rams were gone to St. Louis, Charlton, the Dallas Cowboys held training camp in Southern California.
Yeah, that was another.
So they have the fan base that's there already, Charlton.
Yeah.
It's not about having to sell the Rams selling their tickets. The Rams Cowboys
already
have fans across the country.
Yeah.
That's what America's team is.
Yeah.
You talked about these two quarterbacks starting meeting for the first time back in August of 2016 in their rookie years. Prescott won that game in the Coliseum, Charlton, when they met.
Yeah.
So, and he's had an upside on his career, when you look at it, even though he doesn't get favoritism from the media, saying that he's not a franchise quarterback and you shouldn't hang your future on him.
Yeah.
All he does is win.
Yeah.
When you look at this game and you talk about Elliott and you talk about Gurley.
Yeah.
Gurley's been injured, Charlton. He hasn't played in 3 weeks.
Yep.
So he's got to come out and test that knee and make sure that it's solid.
Yeah.
Ezekiel Elliott led the NFL in rushing, Charlton. He's been one of the top rushing running backs in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So he has not slowed down at all. The biggest difference in this game, Charlton, is Jared Goff. Here's a guy who's thrown 5 touchdowns and 6 interceptions in his last 5 games.
Yeah.
In the last 5 weeks, that's what he's done.
Yeah.
So his offensive ability, Charlton, has taken a hit late in the season.
Yep.
Just like he did last year when the Falcons went into Los Angeles and beat the Rams.
Yeah.
He has that on his mind, Charlton, is that I won the West last year, but I couldn't beat a team that came in here on the road and beat me last year. Will that be duplicated again this year, Charlton?
Well, I know all of L.A. is really big on the Rams right now. They're also big on the Chargers. And it would be a shame if both teams lost in L.A. on the same weekend. I know the Colts and the Chiefs, they're playing a Saturday game. The Cowboys and Rams, they play on Saturday. And then you have Sunday, you have the Chargers, the Patriots, and the Eagles and Saints. But it's always great in L.A. when you win. When you win big, everybody loves you. But I got to get your thoughts. I know we've talked about all the games, Big C, but I want to get your feeling. As a defensive player, is anyone afraid of Ndamukong Suh? I mean, I know we talk about Darnold, but is anyone afraid of Ndamukong Suh? And we know the Cowboys defense. As a defensive guy, everybody says be nice to your teammate. But which teammate would you call out, Big C, if you're on the Rams? I think you look at their secondary and also Suh, Big C, your thoughts.
Well, not only just Suh on the D-line, Charlton, you look at Fowler, Dante Fowler.
Yeah.
They have 2 former number 1 draft picks on the defensive line that lack productivity.
Yeah.
They made the trade for Dante Fowler from Jacksonville, Charlton, mid-season, right before the trade deadline. They made a big free agent splash with Ndamukong Suh, bringing him over from the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Got Patrick Peterson. They made a trade for him in the offseason, Charlton, from Kansas City. So, there's some vulnerability when you look at the Rams, Charlton.
Yeah.
Aaron Donald, you're going to get a man and a half out of him on the D-line.
Double team.
It's those other 3 guys on the D-line, Charlton, they should be all pro players. When Aaron Donald is consistently commanding a double team, Charlton, there's no reason why those other guys shouldn't step up. But Dak Prescott has Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
Something he hasn't had in a long time, Charlton, that deep threat.
Yeah.
And the Rams secondary has shown vulnerability the last 6 weeks of the season.
Yep. Well,
Can Amari Cooper rise to the occasion, Charlton? Dak Prescott keeps everyone close to the line of scrimmage, allowing him to get over the top.
Well, funny thing, didn't Amari Cooper start the season in Oakland? How did he end up on a playoff team down in Texas? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you think about Cooper being on a playoff team, you think about Khalil Mack being on a playoff team.
Yeah.
You think about the Raiders watching all the playoff teams.
Janikowski.
John Gruden is a genius.
Yeah, Janikowski.
I mean, he's been labeled that by everybody in the media.
Yeah.
That he is a genius.
Yeah.
Chucky is back.
Yeah.
You know, the last time you saw Chucky in a movie, what happened to Chucky?
I don't watch those movies.
All right.
I try not to watch
it. It's the same thing that's happened to the Raiders since he's been there.
Yeah, I think it's all fair and love and war. And I know we've gone through our thoughts, and it's a shame because NFL is coming up on a wind down where we're going to get into the NFC and AFC championship games next week. And I know we all talk about certain games. We're not into predicting. I know we don't say who's going to win this game. You just give the tendencies of what we can see. So before we get into to close out the show, I just want to go back and recap. We have the Colts on the road, and they're playing at the Chiefs. The weather's going to be nasty. But I know we always talk about who the stars might be, but is there anyone that you are worried about defensively that maybe can't stand up to it? Secondary, linebackers, D-line, who do you think fares better defensively? Obviously, I would say the Colts when it comes to them game versus the Chiefs, but maybe Chiefs offensively, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I look at the Chiefs' defense as being vulnerable in this game. You know, they've been the Achilles heel of this team all year long. If Patrick Mahomes hadn't been in Kansas City, Charlton, this team would have been lucky to be 8-8.
Yeah.
With some miraculous play from their first-year quarterback, Charlton.
Yeah.
That propelled them to their league, to top record in the AFC.
Yeah.
You know, when I think about this Colts defense, Charlton, they got a lot of young upstarts that are aggressive football players, Charlton. They go out and play football the old way with reckless abandon.
Yep.
And so I give their defense the advantage. You know, Patrick Mahomes has to be the X factor if they are to move on to Kansas City Chiefs, Charlton, because this Colts defense, their offensive line is outstanding.
Yep.
The Chiefs' offensive line has been beat up most of the year. If they get some of those veterans back, Charlton,
yep,
it will really help them in the playoffs.
As a defensive guy, Big C, going into the Rams and the Chargers, everybody talks about offensive players. What defense would you feel better with if they had to stop a team in a 2-minute drive, driving 80 yards? Would you trust the Cowboys defense or would you trust the Rams, Big C, even though the Rams are at home?
Well, Charlton, I like the Cowboys defense. They're young, they're aggressive, Charlton, and they play great team scheme.
Yeah.
You know, the Rams have not showed me in the last month of the season that they have the ability to stop people, Charlton. They were very vulnerable. The one dominant game they had was against Arizona.
Yeah.
And who did not have a dominant game against Arizona?
Yeah.
So they really didn't show me a lot in that win against Arizona, even though it was a win, Charlton.
Yeah.
But when I look at what Cowboys have done week in and week out, they've been in the playoffs, Charlton, every week.
Yeah.
That's what I give them credit for, is that this defense is not buckled under any pressure. They lost that one game to Indianapolis, Charlton, where they got shut out.
Yeah.
But other than that, Charlton, they've been very stalwart.
If you're a defensive guy, I know you guys don't play fair, but that's part of how you guys get to be defensive players, all pro players. If you're the Patriots or the Chargers defense, and you're up by 4 at the 2-minute warning trying to stop a team going 80 yards, which defense would you prefer that you have more confidence in? Would it be the Chargers stopping the Patriots, or do you think the Patriots at home would have a better chance stopping the Chargers, Big C? Give me your thoughts.
Well, Charlton, I look at the Chargers, what they did against the Kansas City Chiefs. They were able to hold them to less points than what the Patriots were, Charlton.
Yeah.
I also look at the Chargers and what they went into Baltimore and did last week, Charlton. They made an adjustment for the team that they were going to play. They put something different on an NFL field that no one had seen in a long time. 7 defensive backs, Charlton.
Yeah.
And say, let's shut down the speed.
Yeah.
They're going to make adjustments against Tom Brady, Charlton. When you think about the defensive front that the Chargers have, Charlton, that they can bring pressure.
Yeah.
They're going to be in Brady's face all day. And Ingram last week, Charlton, had one of the best defensive games of the entire season. You know, people talk about Khalil Mack, they talk about Aaron Donald, they talk about, J.J. Watt.
Yep.
He had one of the best games of the entire NFL season last week against Baltimore. Not only rushing the passer, but defending the pass and making tackles, Charlton.
Yep.
So when you look at where they are, San Diego has shown that they can make some defensive adjustments.
Yeah.
New England has had defensive vulnerability most of the season. Even though they bend and don't break, Charlton, this is the time of the year they make big plays.
Yep.
I call it even on defense, Charlton. It's going to be who makes the big play from the quarterback position.
Big C, the Saints and the Eagles. The Eagles, like you said earlier, and I like what you said, forget about the first time you lost, you got blown out. Forget about it. You can't keep thinking about it. This is new. It's like spilled milk. No one thinks that Saints can lose at home. I think anyone can win. It's like what the great Al Pacino said, any given Sunday, Big C. If you have a team that has to hold off a drive, 2-minute warning, and they're protecting a 4-point lead, do you trust the Eagles and what they did to the Bears, even though the Bears missed a field goal? Or do you trust the Saints? Remember, the Saints were shown up by Dallas, even though that was in Big D. Give me your thoughts for this game, Big C, your thoughts.
Well, Charlton, if you think about what the Eagles did to the Bears defense in the last couple of minutes of the game, Charlton, moving the ball up and down the field to get down for that touchdown. But on the flip side, Charlton, how easy was it for the Bears and Mitch Trubisky to throw the ball against the Eagles defense?
Yeah.
That's Mitch Trubisky. This is Drew Brees this week, Charlton.
Good enough.
They went over that same game tape that they saw the Bears manipulate. Get manipulated by the Eagles. And you got Drew Brees, Michael Thomas, and a host of other characters, Charlton, that nobody's been able to stop all year long consistently. So the Eagles, like I said, they have 3 defensive backs, Charlton, that are not the starters. They're second-tier guys, Charlton. So that's the vulnerability of the Eagles' defense. I don't know if they can generate enough pass rush to get Drew Brees off the spot, Charlton, because he throws the ball so quickly. And then you got to worry about those backs circling out of the backfield, Charlton. I don't see this being a 48-7 game, Charlton, but I do see the Saints scoring at least 35 and the Eagles only in the 17-point range, Charlton.
Well, that's very accurate. The last thing on the NFL, too, Sarah Thomas she'll make history this weekend. Talk about the Me Too movement. And giving black men coaching jobs, it's the same thing. Black men fought for civil rights, and black women fought for civil rights. And we praise the Me Too movement, and we should, because black women started it. But they started it 400 years ago, not just the last couple of years. But as a female, as a woman, starting as an official of an NFL playoff game, I like that progress. But I would love to see the same type of empathy for black men who are told, boy, we love you, we'll even nominate you to the Hall of Fame, but you won't get a damn job coaching my team. Big C, your thoughts on the first female coaching an NFL playoff game?
Well, Charlton, they have Sarah Thomas to make this leap, Charlton. She's been in the league for the past couple of years, and they even changed the position. She was originally a line judge now, Charlton, when she came into the NFL. But because of gender representation, Charlton, they call it a downs judge. So they made adjustments even for her where they won't make it for black coaches in the NFL. But, we're seeing a lot of history this weekend, Charlton, in the NFL. We're seeing a player in Patrick Mahomes that wasn't born the last time the Chiefs won a playoff game at home. We're seeing the first time 2 former Super Bowl MVPs facing each other in the playoffs. Not only that, Charlton, they went to the same high school. We're seeing our first female official officiate a game with the Chargers and the Patriots on Sunday in Foxborough, representing gender equity in the officiating ranks of the NFL, Charlton. The NFL can make great strides, but they're also behind the times in many other things, Charlton.
And we got to bring the attention to it. We just ask everybody who's fair. If you're a bigot, just say you're a bigot. Nobody cares. Obviously, you can get elected president if you're a bigot. But at the same time, if you believe in egalitarianism and liberty and justice for all, let's really be serious about let people start at the same starting line and let them run to the finish line, and the person who gets there, give them a chance. Black men have run to the finish line as the gladiators of the NFL. Look them all in the eye and tell them, and I'm talking to my white brethren too, the ones that play, you can also advocate for people to get opportunity. Just the opportunities. No one's saying you got to hire anybody. But at some point in time, let's get bigotry out of the NFL. We can do it if we all put our minds to it. I just think that's important. Big C, as we close out on Big C Sports Today, this great football weekend, Russell Westbrook had 24 assists, 24 points, 13 rebounds. LaMarcus Aldridge led all. He had 56 points last night for San Antonio in a 147 game that's won by the Spurs last night. And just give me your thoughts. I mean, the great game down in Texas, Big C, your thoughts.
Well, when you think about it, with Russell Westbrook accomplished last night, 24, 24, and 13, Charlton.
Yeah.
Another triple-double in his illustrious career that he's had thus far.
Yep.
So when you think about LaMarcus Aldridge, Charlton, pumping in 56 points last night.
Yeah.
And not one of those points was a three-point shot, Charlton.
Wow.
He did it the old-fashioned way.
Yeah.
On the inside. He only had one dunk, Charlton, out of those 56 points.
Yeah.
So this was truly traditional basketball. When we talk about the ladies' game, Charlton, on the college level, how they're so fundamentally sound.
Yeah.
LaMarcus Aldridge went back to fundamental basketball last night, Charlton, and that was the 21st highest scoring game in NBA history last night.
Boy, that was an amazing game. He got off in that game. He actually asked for the game-winning ball. I really appreciate the way he played last night, Big C. In college basketball, UCLA was down by 9 with less than a minute to go versus the University of Oregon, took the game into overtime and won it after getting rid of Alfred. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, we talked about the downness of West Coast basketball and how UCLA had been the Pandora out there in that game. And this was one of the greatest games of the college football basketball season, Charlton.
Yeah.
And it wasn't seen by people on the East Coast.
Yeah.
Because West Coast does not get that atmosphere of broadcasting from the networks, Charlton.
Yeah.
But to have a game like that, Charlton, that's under a minute to go and you're down by 9, that's what athleticism is, Charlton. Athletes are all about. You don't give up.
You don't give up.
Just give me an opportunity.
The opportunity. Jacob deGrom in Major League Baseball, the Mets Cy Young Award-winning pitcher, settles a $17 million contract 2019. I think he can afford a lot of cheese. Big C, your thoughts? A lot of cheese for deGrom?
Well, you think about it. This was the first Cy Young winner, Charlton, with a losing record, but the Mets felt that they should reward him. He wasn't the reason that he didn't have a winning record. He led Major League in ERA, Charlton, in strikeouts. He just had no run support from the Mets.
No run support at all, Big C. You think about the Red Sox, MVP, Mookie Betts. The Red Sox settled on a $20 million salary in 2019. He could buy a lot. What do they eat in Boston? I think they eat a lot of crab cakes, and they eat a lot of... What else do they eat? Crab cakes and red beans, or is it crab cakes and sushi? What do they eat in Boston, Big C? Your thoughts?
Boston baked beans,
okay,
also a lot of cod. He's going to be able to afford that. The mac and cheese also, Charlton.
Yep.
But Mookie Betts and the Red Sox were able to avoid arbitration today, Charlton, and settle on a one-year, $20 million contract. He was the engine of the Boston Red Sox, Charlton, to propel them to that World Series victory last season.
Yeah, I tell you what, Big C, it's all fair and love and war, and as mostly what I hear, Big C, I just applaud you. You've been on, because you talked about the truth. Now, you've been on this thing about giving people opportunity, an equal opportunity. That's what this country is supposed to be about. I love when black men are smart enough to say, look, I'm not being given an equal fare or equal shake. And I think it was Glenn Close that said of the Golden Globes that I can do that. I can do that job. They just need to be given the opportunity. If you're a white man and you own a team, would you rather lose with a white guy or win with a black guy? White guys and black guys, they're both trying to feed their families. They both put in the time. But don't tell me you're good enough to dominate the league, to be 70% of the league, but you're not smart enough to coach the league. I mean, do you want to win, or do you just want someone your same skin color? All life came from Africa. Google that. Honor your parents and your forefathers. All life came from the African continent. Dr. Leakey Gregory-Mendo. There should be no racism. We're all from the same tribe. Big C. Back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Bundini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young man, rumble. Big C. What are you looking forward to in this boys' universe?
Well, Charlton, this is an ecstatic time of the world of the NFL when you talk about this playoff weekend that we're having. Four games, Charlton, fighting for the finals in a week to get to Atlanta, where the Super Bowl is only 22 days away.
Yeah. Big C, 22 days away, but Putin's still trying to chime in the Ebola investigation, get at him too, Big C. Go right ahead, Big C, your thoughts.
Well, Charlton, he has people on both sides of the water, over here and over there.
They want to vote Big C.
And I wonder, what type of effect will it have on the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
And I wonder if POTUS will say, Send those SOBs home.
I think he's always saying that. But like E.T. said, E.T. phone home. E.T. phone home. You can phone home to every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide when you follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, we always tell you, there's never, ever any excuse for domestic violence. If you know any man or woman going through that garbage, please call 911, because no man or woman should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. As we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.